Hello. So we're starting to see people getting in.
Recording in progress.
Amazing. Hello, everyone. Welcome. And we're just giving 1 or 2 minutes to get people into the room, and then we will start right away. So, I think we can start. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Startup Destination, Dubai. So, this is the first episode in our UAE focused webinar series where we explore the dynamic startup ecosystem of the Emirates. After successfully wrapping up our series on Saudi Arabia, we're thrilled to shift our focus to the UAE. So, starting with Dubai, a city that is synonymous to innovation, global business, and endless opportunities for startups. Um, Maybe for those who are new to Startup Destination, this series dives deep into the startup ecosystem of different GCC countries. So each chapter is dedicated to a specific country, and within each chapter, we break things down across multiple episodes. So, in these episodes, what do? We explore insights into the most promising industries for new ventures. We look at the resources, networks, and government support available. And we run comprehensive analysis of key sectors and growth opportunities. So, tonight's episode focuses on Dubai. We'll cover the Emirates startup ecosystem. We'll explore fundraising opportunities, and we will highlight soft lending support for startups entering and growing in the city and in the Emirates. Also, our next episodes in this chapter will focus on Abu Dhabi on March 12th, and we will also focus on Sharjah on April 9th. So make sure to follow us on our social media for more information on what's next and to keep you posted about the next episode coming up. So I am Usama Masoud. I am your moderator for tonight. And tonight we've got a fantastic lineup of speakers who will share practical insights on everything from incorporation and funding to emerging market trends and success stories. But before we dive in, just a couple of quick notes. So we will have a Q&A sessions after each presentation. So we'll have 5 minutes after each presentation for Q&As. So you can drop your questions in the chat as we go, and we will pick some of them and answer them. And also, this session is being recorded, and we will share the recording with you afterwards. Now, I'd like to take a quick moment to introduce BetaWaves, so your host company for this series of webinars. So at BetaWaves, we support startups, SMEs, corporates, and government agencies with programs that are designed to drive innovation, foster growth, and build relevant capabilities. And also through our VC arm, we focus on building B2B climate tech startups with the North and West African founders to serve the Middle East markets. Additionally, our venture studio leverages a proven startup building methodology to create world-class startups. We're passionate about enabling organizations through skills and innovation programs while investing in tech startups across frontier and emerging markets. So, with that, let's get started. So, let me stop the sharing here. Right. Okay. Um, so to kick things off, we'll explore why Dubai is a top destination for startups worldwide. So with its strategic location, innovative infrastructure, and supportive business environment, Dubai has become a magnet for entrepreneurs and investors alike. So here to give us a comprehensive overview is Matteo Boffa. Hi, Matteo. Matteo is a Swiss serial impact entrepreneur and investor, residing in Dubai since 2016. He's a former Swiss private banker and was recognized by Forbes in their 30 under 30 list. Matteo is currently a venture partner at Zebra Ventures, UAE, and serves on the board of several global companies and organizations. Welcome, Matteo. The floor is yours, and you can give us more information about you. And we are very excited to hear what you have to share with us today.
Thank you so much, Osama. I hope everybody can see my screen fully. Is that correct?
Yep.
Perfect. So hello, everyone. As Osama mentioned, my name is Matteo Boffa. I'm from Switzerland, and I'm very happy and proud and honored to be here today. I have the goal today of showing some of the success story which I've been part in the UAE. Of course, I realized a few years ago after I exited my first company that I was not able or willing to build from scratch companies. So with the first money as a revenue of my first exit, I decided to invest in young people with great ideas and a lot of passion. So these are going to be 3 stories of success. Of course, I have many stories of unsuccess, but let's keep it positive today. And the goal is to motivate you to create your venture or to develop your venture or to approach investor. So these pictures are from 2019 when I was one of the judges of a startup competition at Amity University here in Dubai. Was a very interesting competition. 95% of the startup were related to tech until the moment that a young guy, Ashai Bave, on the bottom right with the crazy curly hair, came on stage with not a pair of shoes, but with one left shoe entirely made with plastic. And he mentioned that was entirely made with recycled plastic bags and plastic bottles. And he wants to create a brand to avoid that plastic end up in landfill in India, the country where he's from. I love the idea, I love the concept. Business plan was very rough, but I believed in the young kids, and I shook his hand. And the day after, I met him in a coffee shop. I put $10,000 on the table, and I said, okay, I want to become a co-founder of this company. His idea was, in fact, to create the first shoe in the world entirely made with recycled plastic bags and plastic bottles. For the rest of the component, he used vegan glue and recycled industrial rubber. Business Insider, which is a very famous magazine and blog, very renowned around the world, came to India, take a very quick video about us. Somebody posted it, it became viral. This video hits around 10 million views in just 48 hours on YouTube. You can still find it. And somebody called Anand Mahindra, that maybe you know, is the boss of Mahindra Group. Mahindra Group is 250,000 employees. This gentleman is a multi-billionaire. He saw this video. He was embarrassed that he didn't know about our brand from India, and he asked to be part of this company. We had a quick call a few weeks later with this guru, and we agreed on a valuation and an investment. Now, to get the money in the bank account took us 1.5 years, but sales after sales, B2C to B2B, we were able to turn this prototype from an idea of a student in Dubai, from a $43 prototype to over $10 million reality up to date. These are some of the shoes that we are now producing for our massive distributor in Europe that you're gonna find in most of the shops very soon. We are as well in Dubai Mall and Mall of the Emirates, and as well in India in different shops. These are the new models. Now, another story, something slightly different, not a physical product, but a mobile application. So I was at somebody else's house in 2020. I was actually during COVID when you had the curfew in Dubai, very strict. So we went out for a few glasses, and at a certain point, one of my friends said, "Oh, there is this new app in town that can take you and your car back home once you finish your party." So here in the UAE, the law is very strict, luckily. So there is no tolerance in alcohol consumption when you drive. So I said, okay, I'm always curious. Download the app. The driver arrived after, I think, 30, 40 minutes. Very polite, opened the door to me and my wife. He took us home safe. Love it. And I was fascinating because the price was extremely low. So I asked the driver to get the number of the CEO. The CEO is Mr. Bunti on the left side of the screen. And I met Bunti and Ishrat, the co-founder, in few occasions. And I told them, okay, I want to invest in this company. We have something similar in Switzerland, but it's like more charity-based for like Christmas, New Year. So I said, okay, I like the guy. Let's do it. At the time, Zofer had 2 drivers in 2020. Few years later, we became a very big reality. We are now one of the biggest startups in not only in Dubai but in the Middle East. We have over 1,600 drivers. These are some numbers of October. Is the growth that you can see from Q4 last year. So it's now on the way to become one of the next UAE unicorns. So if you don't have it yet, or if you are in Dubai with your own car, please feel free to use it. We are not only using this to move people after party, but we are focused on B2B to move a car from the garage to pick up and drop off kids for school, many other types of usage. Now, another reality, I was one of the judges of the Startup World Cup that happened in Dubai a few years ago, in 2021 actually. And a couple actually, brother and sister, came on stage, present an ice cream. I'm from the Italian speaking part of Switzerland, so I'm kind of connected to this type of food. I loved it, and they explained, okay, sustainable, very tasty, and I tried it, and I fell in love with the story of the 2 brother and sister, and of course of the product. Again, they didn't pass the semi-final, where I was judging, but I decided to invest. And thanks to this investment, we were able to grow, buy more trucks, and implement under distribution. This is now actually 2023. In 2024, we did almost double of the number that you see on the left side. And we are opening our own shop in one of the malls here in Dubai and exporting from March this year in the USA. These are some of the lines of the product. Now, last one, I hope it's not getting boring, but I want to give you a different taste and vision of what I'm doing. I'm entering in extremely early stage startup. So valuation is extremely low. Ticket size is low. The investment is very aggressive. Most of the time I lose my money, but in these, for example, 4 cases, the price after the investment, it's very, very good. Now, another situation, I'm quite present in LinkedIn. After, you can connect to me via LinkedIn, and I receive 2 to 3 business plans per week. Somebody sent me a message saying, Mr. Matteo, I have a new laundry. It's very similar to Washman, probably you know. We do pick up and drop off of laundry. If you want to try, this is a discount code. Feel free to use it. So I use this code, and basically a few days after the person, actually not the same day, somebody came pick up my laundry. Few days after, they came back, and this is very simple. Like, we have companies here that does it for many years in Dubai. Now, the difference was this letter that you can see on the screen that is, first of all, is handwritten. In Dubai, I don't have a post box. I don't receive letters since the last 10 years that I live here. And my last letter that I received was from my grandma, so something very attached and emotional to me. Now, the letters say we are not perfect. We try our best. Please let us know how we can improve. So I felt that this founder did something that anybody can do, but he did it in a different way. So I believed in him. I invested as well my private capital, and the company from 2 orders per week grow up now to around latest data is around 1,500 1,600 per month. So this is around 50 to 100 per day, depending on the date. So again, something that is existing, but we made it in a different way. As mentioned by Osama, I'm part of Zebra Venture. We are a group of 3, now 4 angel investor. We are based here in the UAE, and we do aggressive investment, small ticket size. We're going to squeeze your valuation at the minimum. But if you are doing something good, especially if it's an impact startup, we are more than happy to talk to you and have a chat and discuss how we can help you financially and not only financially. Now, I will leave this one. Please connect with my partner as well. Again, these 4 startups are incredibly good. I'm extremely happy. It doesn't happen every day. As an investor, you have to be lucky. You have to be in the right place in the right moment. And this field where we work is quite sweet, because in Dubai you have a lot of investor, you have a lot of VC, you have a lot of family office, but you have a small amount of people that believe in your idea at the very early stage. So this is what Zebra Venture is. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'm very open to any type of question, and I hope I was not too long. Here you have as well my contact detail.
Amazing. Thank you, Matteo, and thank you for those very insightful and very amazing stories that you just shared with us. I loved how the founders also tend to have those very innovative ways of approaching and for hustling until they reach their objective, which is also one of the traits of the founders. I don't know if we have questions for you already, but I have a question, Matteo. Maybe I will go. So my question for you is, how much would you say the fact that you've been in Dubai since 2016? What is the role that Dubai played, or did it play any role in those successes? Were there any specificities of the city, of the ecosystem of the city, that made it that you could have those successes in those startups?
Yeah, I think there are a few factors. Number one, Dubai, it's a perfect playground for startup for many reasons as well. First of all, it's a relatively small city in terms of surface compared to other city in the world, but has a very high population. So around Dubai is around 4 million inhabitants. Now, it's not just about the quantity of inhabitants, but the differentiation of the population in this city. So you have multiple culture, multiple religion, multiple nationalities, multiple backgrounds. So it's a perfect playground for you to start a product, a service, an idea, and test it in a market that can after be replicated in bigger market in the GCC, for example, or in Europe. Now, another good thing is the anger of people, of students that come here. We have a massive number of university, and most of the students are coming from underprivileged country, if I may say so, and they maybe want some bursary through their country or through their studies. So they're very hunger of really succeed and show that they can do it, and they can make it in Dubai. So this creates a pool of ideas, a pool of young people with energy and passion, and this create for me a small aquarium in a way in the investment world, where I can go and pick and select through startup competition, incubator challenges, accelerator, great initiative at a very cheap price. So I'm not in the field of crypto. I don't invest in funds myself. I just want to go there, meet the founders, hear the story, put the cash, get the share, wait, pray, and hope that my $10,000 will become an X10, X20, X50, X100.
Amazing. Amazing. I don't know if there are any other questions. You're already answering some of the questions, Matteo, in the Q&A, right? So there was a question about the size of your investment tickets, and you answered 10 to 50K USD, right? Also, there's another message from Alexander, who just explained their needs in terms of investment. They're having an investment round. Maybe and he also left a LinkedIn profile, so maybe you'll be interested to reach out.
Yes, please connect to me via LinkedIn. For me, is the easiest way because I have different phone numbers. So LinkedIn, I tend to answer to all the messages, so that will be the easiest way.
Amazing, amazing. Nice. Matteo, thank you very much. And I also encourage, as Matteo said, anyone who has other questions that may come up, to please get in contact with Matteo and ask your questions. And it's amazing to see all the successes you had, and I wish you all the best in this beautiful city and all the success. Thank you, Matteo. Thank you so much. Do we
Thank you so
have?
much, Osama.
Thank you, Matteo. Thank you. Do we have Saif here? Saif, are you here? I think Saif is not connected. We might maybe give him some more time and do a quick small rearrangement of the agenda. Mohammed, I see you are here. Mohammed Sabune, I see you are here. So we could probably go next in an unexpected move, okay? Until we get a hold of Saif, who will give us more information about how to set up a business in Dubai. But Dubai is a vibrant ecosystem, right? It's accelerators, incubators, co-working spaces, government-backed initiatives, and all of this is really designed to foster innovation and to support entrepreneurs. So to give us an in-depth look at this ecosystem, I'm excited to introduce Mohammed Sabune. Mohammed has over 15 years of experience in digital and tech startups, covering roles from founder to investor. He's held key positions at Rainmaking, Startup Bootcamp, and the Dubai FinTech Accelerator, and brings a wealth of knowledge on navigating startup ecosystems. Welcome, Mohammed. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Osama. It's a pleasure to be on this call today. And I've been following what you guys have been doing at Betaway for a while, and I'm really admiring the bridging that you're trying to connect with across the MENA. So, and thank you, Amal, also for making the intro to Osama in the first place. Sorry. Okay, let me share my screen quickly. I have a couple of slides. I try not to be too boring, and then I'll take you through these things. Can you see my screen? Is it full screen? All right, perfect. All right, so you've chosen Dubai as your next stage of geographical expansion. You're a startup, you're a founder, you have a bit of funding, and then, or you might not have a bit of funding, and then you decide you want to expand. I think it should be the right choice to get started. There's a lot of things that really makes it stand out as a city, as a country, and as a city. But we're going to focus on Dubai. I know you have another session about Abu Dhabi in the coming weeks. So why Dubai? A lot of the times I hear that, hey, I cannot own a company fully by my own. I'm local. That has been the case until recently, I think a couple of years. But now, as a free zone entity, as an offshore or as a mainland entity, you don't need a local partner in a UAE Emirati person to be on your capital. So this means 100% ownership for you, and that really removed a lot of the barriers that people had concerns about when coming in and setting up. I think Saif will talk more about that a bit more, but I wanted to summarize a bit, a couple of points that I think should be highlighted. It's really competitive in terms of talent. It's a hub across the MENA, across the world, really, in terms of why people want to move here. That could be a positive thing because you can find a lot of people, you can find a lot of the key positions that you want, but also this makes it a bit expensive because key talent, the good ones, have really a lot of options in the region. To set expectations, Dubai, people move here because they're expecting higher salaries, zero tax. So this has a pros and cons in terms of positioning. If you lived here or if you visit here, you'll see that it's very natively digital. Everything that you do, from dealing with the government, doing your paperwork, everything happens on an app. You rarely need to go and actually visit government establishment, except maybe in the beginning when you need to do your visa, you go once for 20 minutes and that is it. Everything else, from a renewal of your paperwork to licensing to everything happens through a Dubai government app across all the divisions. And then even when you go to the private sector, delivery is easy. All the services are online. Marketplaces are super well established. The infrastructure to enable all of these things are present and have been evolving over the last 20, 30 years to a point where it's extremely seamless, extremely easy to consume digitally whatever you want, whether it's a service or it's a product. And something that I've seen, especially the last 4 or 5 years, the country and the city specifically have been doing a lot of progress a lot when it comes to ease of setting up business. I remember 10 years ago when I first set up my company here, it took about 2 months, I think, a lot of visits to the offices, this kind of things. Now, the last one that I set up was a couple of months ago, and it happened fully digitally online. Didn't even we didn't have to call the agent who's setting up the entity. So the KYC is done online, everything is via email, if not through a portal of wherever you're setting it up. So it's become much more easier in terms of setup and having a license on the ground here. And then most importantly, I think it's ranked number 4 in terms of safety globally. So, and that keeps improving. So it was number 7 in 2023, number 4 in 2024. So this is a safe environment for you to come in, to set up your business, to move your family here if you want. And then if you look at it compared to the region, why am I saying this? Because all of these factors combined really make it an attractive hub for scale-ups in the region. So 80 in the country. 86 of the scale-ups in UAE are based, 86% are based in Dubai, compared to 16% across the Abu Dhabi and then the other Sharjah and other Northern Emirates. So on a regional level, it's super well established. On a local level, on a country level, it's also. Which brings me to the next. Overall, the investment in MENA, we've been working on this for a while. It's been in this region for a while. We know that the VC scene is evolving. So the amount of investments grew in the last 10 years and peaked last year about $4 billion. 2024 wasn't an easy year for the VC ecosystem overall, so we've seen a dip, but all the indications are pointing towards a recovery in 2025. So we're hoping that this number is going to increase over the year. But overall, when we're looking at these $2 billion investment in the region, 1.1, almost half of the investments are coming from the UAE, followed by Saudi and then by Egypt. So again, you're getting exposed to a lot of investment, you're getting exposed to a lot of VCs who consider the UAE to be the base for the region, and then you can go from here to Saudi and others. In terms of sectors, in terms of there's no specific verticals at this point that is really taking the majority of the investment. We're seeing more or less a very even distribution between SaaS, fintech, mobility, e-commerce. We're seeing prop tech and logistics getting more and more popular. Overall, when we're looking at VCs, this is a trend. Next year, I imagine AI is going to be in the top 10 or top 5 even here on this chart. So, which gives me some comfort that startups, whatever their industry, whatever your vertical, it is gonna be a good. Well, let me rephrase that. You have a good probability of raising funds or getting at least exposure to investments or getting interest from it. I put in here a couple of logos that I think are worth looking into, but there's a disclaimer here on my side. There's plenty other than just these 8 or 9 here that I'm showing on the slide. But these are what I consider some of the core ones. And then the good thing is that whatever vertical you have, you can find an entity that is supporting you or supporting that vertical. So you'll get some tailor-made support rather than generic tech companies, tech advisory or tech investment. So just to mention a few, and I'll say a couple of words about each. Dubai Future Foundation and Dubai Future Accelerators, they've been on the market for a while now. Something interesting that you might want to look out for is that they keep running specific challenges around specific industries with very high-profile partners in UAE. So what happens is that a certain corporate or certain government entity comes out and say, "Hey, are there any startups in the region that can help me solve this particular challenge in this industry?" So it's a very good leeway or entry point to establish presence, build partnerships in UAE, and maybe that could turn into some sort of commercial or partnership. DTAC, quite rounded in terms of their offering. They can support you in setting up a business, and all the way to they have their own accelerator and VC fund. Plus incubator and co-working spaces. So it's like a one-stop shop for whenever you first arrive into the region or the country. The IFC Innovation Hub and Dubai AI Campus, they are in the Dubai International Financial Center. So they're quite advanced in terms of financial regulation. If you are fintech wanting to set up, they have a very good deal in the first 2 years to establish your company and would support you in terms of market entry. Mohammed bin Rashid Fund also targeting a lot of the international companies or regional companies to come in. They fund them, they support them. They have an accelerator that runs once or twice a year. Astrolabs in UAE and Saudi, actually, since we're on the topic, also they're full one-stop shop for setting up your company and a co-working space. The MCC, setting up your company, and particularly if you're working in the crypto and crypto space, then they are quite advanced in terms of regulation for that vertical. So it's something to look out for. And then N5, quite one of the oldest players also in the region. They're focused around tech, media, and design. So if you are in any of these 3 verticals, definitely go ahead and reach out. All of these entities, definitely sign up to their newsletters, follow them online, just to be aware of what is happening. The point of me showing you these names is just like, this is not restrictive. There's a lot of other names, as I said, but it takes time to build that knowledge base about what's happening on the country. So start with these names, follow up on their news, and then there's a couple of others basically that will get you introduced or familiarized with what's happening on the ground in terms of events, in terms of funding news, in terms of competition. I get a lot of my research from Digital Digest. I think Rasha's with us here, from Wanda and from Dubai Chamber newsletters. So this is just a brief overview. There's so much I can talk about in 10 minutes, but please, I can share these screens with you. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or by email, whatever you prefer, and then I'm happy to take any questions that you have.
Amazing, Mohammed. Thank you very much for all those insights. Yes, I think you have some questions, but before that, just for everyone in the chat, you will see that Shukran has been putting links to all of those entities that Mohammed just shared. So links to their websites, so it's easier for you to go and check them out. Yes, so let's see some questions for you, Mohammed. I think I saw one that said, um, what are your thoughts about startups in agri-tech? Do you have any thoughts about this specifically?
Not too many of them, honestly. There was a big push towards food safety like 4 or 5 years ago, especially in COVID times. So we saw a couple of funding events, specifically in Abu Dhabi for a couple of big companies. I wouldn't look just as agri-tech. It's a bit difficult to find um, verticalized VCs in the region. A lot of them tend to cover 2 or 3 verticals. So what I would do, I would look at anything related to sustainability. I think agri-tech would fall under that. Under that. Um, when it comes to these national initiatives, I sense Abu Dhabi has a better ecosystem for these things rather than Dubai, while Dubai is more focused on tech and services. So that's what I would.
Yeah, the good news is that we will be having our next episode about Abu Dhabi. So maybe
Amazing.
you need to join this also and to have more information about this specific subject. Also, another question is, yeah, this is an interesting one. What are the differences with the Saudi ecosystem? I don't know if you. This is also a good connection with the previous chapter that we had about all the
Yeah.
Saudi ecosystem. But can you
Yeah.
think of any differences that you see, Mohammed, with the Saudi
Look,
ecosystem?
in terms, let's look at it from a market perspective.
Okay.
Saudi is 3 times the market of UAE in terms of population. So it's one, it's a bigger market. Two, the Dubai market is much more saturated in terms of digital services than digital products. So the infrastructure is better. It's about, I would say, 10 years more advanced, and that is completely fair because just Saudi market has just started to open up in the last 5 to 6 years, I would say. A lot of the companies and the startups in the region consider UAE to be the hub, the regional hub. So they would come in, they would set up, they would establish shop here in UAE, and then use that as a way to get into Saudi market. Keep in mind that the population is extremely different. UAE is most 90% expats. English is the dominant language. It's very different. It's very metropolitan in terms of a mix, while Saudi is the other way around. It's 95% of Saudis. And then the more dominant language would be Saudi. So you need to keep in mind this dynamic. One key thing that I always hear from startups to launch in Saudi, to get investment from Saudi, you need to have business there. The importance of somebody localized, finding a partner that is a Saudi partner is much more important in Saudi compared to UAE because this is still a developing market. It's very different dynamics. I hope that answers a bit.
Yes, I hope so, but I think yes, it gives a lot of perspective about the differences. Still, questions coming up. I don't know if you will be able to take all of them. Maybe we will take another one, and then we will maybe share with you the other questions, Muhammad, and if you can even after that, after the we take that offline, and you can answer them.
Sure,
You can share them
sure.
with those who answer who ask the question. But for I would take this one. When exactly a founder should consider moving to Dubai? At which stage, preferably?
Either you set up here
Okay.
or move when you have a budget.
Okay.
It's so if you're already here and then and this is something that I tell companies or startups, whatever the market they're trying to expand into, it's not cheap. Do not try to do it halfway or try to be um, to be too bootstrapped about it. It costs money to set up. It costs money to do business development. You need to be here on the ground. It's an expensive city. It's not cheap. Rent is high. Living expenses are high. But you need to be here on the ground to network, to build those connections, to meet the investors, to meet the partners, and get clients. And most importantly, to localize your product, to feel what it is to to talk to the people, what are the concerns, what are their pain points. So put a budget, try to get some proof of concept about why the product works, how it should work. And then if you don't have the money, show that you are really serious about the country or the region, and then move in here. A particular thing about investors here and everywhere else, I would say, is that you need to show that you are really committed to growing into a certain region or a country for you to get funding. The other way doesn't work. It's extremely rare cases where somebody would invest in you to come in into a region without showing any traction. That's my perspective.
Great, amazing, Mohammed. With this, we take the last question for you, but they keep coming up. But we would take.
I'll try to answer on the messages after we're done.
Yes, amazing. That would be great.
Yeah.
So yeah, with that, thank you very much, Mohammed. And so we go back now as we have Saif with us. We go back to how to set up a lot of questions. You already have questions, Saif. You already have questions answered even before your session. So there's a lot of interest in how to come to Dubai, how to set up here. So starting a business in Dubai for sure offers unique advantages, but I think it's essential to understand the legal frameworks, licensing options, regulations, etc., that guide all the incorporation process. So Saif with us to break this down. Saif Brahmi is the general manager at Universal Zone. Saif brings extensive experience in guiding businesses through the setup process in Dubai's dynamic markets. So I hand it over to you, Saif. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to apologize. I faced enormous technical issues. Even now, I want to share my screen, but it says that I need to reboot the call, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to rely more on the presentation, and of course, I'm going to rely on your questions to make this as clear as possible. Thank you guys for having me. So as Usama said, I specialize in the market of Dubai. So I help businesses, SMEs, like small and medium companies, to set up their business here in the UAE. And of course, when we start a company in the UAE, that also requires, for the majority of the part, that you will undergo the residency process, because in order to take advantage of the UAE banking system, you will need to be a resident of the UAE. So the UAE market is an interesting market because it is roughly divided into 3 jurisdictions. So, and these jurisdictions are divided also according to who are your clients. Are you dealing, for example, B2C, B2B, or business to government? And also, what are the needs of your business? So, for example, we have 3 jurisdictions. The first jurisdiction, and like the biggest jurisdiction in the UAE right now, is the jurisdiction of what we call here the mainland. You can, this is directly from the government. You will get your license directly from the government through what we call here DED, which is Dubai Economic Department. And these licenses are mainly like people choose to go for the mainland companies mainly for 2 big reasons. Either they are going to set up a business where they're going to need to do B2C, like they have clients residing in the UAE. For example, I'm just going to give a random example. If you are setting up a real estate company, for example, or you're treating people, they will come to your place, or you're going to sell people directly and you need that physical interaction, you need to be on a mainland company. The other thing that you need to get, why you need to get a mainland company, if, for example, you are a startup and you have a contract with the government. So, for example, any company that needs to get a contract with the government needs to be on the mainland, and this is a requirement from the government. In order to sign with you the contract, you need to be on the mainland. These are the 2 major things why people choose the mainland. But of course, there are implications of choosing the mainland. Of course, for example, if you choose a mainland, for example, you are obliged to get an office, which is not the case for the other two jurisdictions. So this is the first jurisdiction, the mainland. The second jurisdiction, and what I would say the most popular, especially for startups or people or consultants, or for example, people who are doing like an activity that doesn't require physical office, which is what we call here the free zone. So the free zone are usually not exclusively private entities. So any person can open a free zone, but there are also some governmental free zones. So for example, there is Jabal Ali free zone, which is governmental, but there is also Ifza free zone, which is a private free zone. And these free zones, some of them, for example, in Jabal Ali or DFC, for example, they would require offices, but the others would not require offices, and they will give you a lease agreement already with the business license when the business license is created. And we mainly advise clients who are looking to get a company, for example, if they are consultant, if they have like anything in tech, if they are, for example, doing anything in trading, e-commerce. These are most suitable for for this kind of jurisdiction, which is the free zone. But it doesn't only like stop to that. There are a lot of activities. For example, if, for example, you have an application like Uber or something like that, you still can have your license on a free zone, but they will be more restrictive. Or if you're getting B2C client, but those B2C clients you are acquiring over the internet, you're not like having a physical interaction. Because if you set up in a free zone, your offices, if you choose to have offices, must be in the free zone itself, and clients needs to come to your office to make the payments. You cannot set shop anywhere you want. Your even like developers or anything that you have or employees needs to be in the free zone itself. So this is the second jurisdiction, which is the free zone. The third jurisdiction, the third big jurisdiction here in the UAE, it is called offshore, but I would say it is not widely used because this is used mainly for big corporation or people who want to hold assets. For example, there are people who set up, for example, trust funds, who hold other holding company, who hold assets. It's mainly to protect your identity, because if you have to provide the document of the company, your name will not be appearing on the company. And usually these holding companies are not allowed, offshore companies are not allowed to open a bank account in the UAE. So that is also another consideration. It is usually used for holding purposes or extra layers of security to ensure that the shareholders are protected. So these are the three jurisdictions and why we might choose a jurisdiction over another jurisdiction. Now, when it comes to setting up a business in the UAE, it is a very straightforward process, and it is composed mainly of three steps. So the first step is basically where we need to create the company. We need to register that. Creating the company, that means getting a business license, getting the MOA, the Memorandum of Association, getting a lease. For example, in the case of the free zone, the lease will be provided for free. But if you're getting, for example, a mainland, you will need to get what we call here an Ijari contract, which is basically a lease contract. But sometimes clients do not need an office, so they do a dummy contract, which they register within the government. They just use it to open the company, and there is no space to be used. They just pay, like prices would vary from 3,000 dirhams or 4,000 dirham, could reach to 10,000. It will depend on the duration and the space, and if it has, for example, approvals attached to it on things. So there are some technicalities which will make the price varies if you need to get an Ijari contract because you need to get a mainland, for example. So this is the first step is creating the company. Of course, every company in the UAE will provide sponsorship for its employees. So the employees usually get the visa through the company. And that's why when you have, when you need to get a residency visa or you need to get employees and give them residency visa, this company needs to be registered with the immigration system, and there is a document that we will get for the company that is called the immigration document. And this is the establishment card that we get for the company that will allow the company to sponsor the future employee. Once we have created the company and we got that establishment card, then we can go ahead and apply for the entry permit, either for the employees or for the manager. So this is the first step, which is creating company, establishment card, and the entry permit. In the case of a free zone, these 3 steps can be done online. So your physical presence in the UAE is not required. You can still start the process while you are based anywhere in the world. You are only going to provide some basic documents, which is basically a passport copy, a passport photo, your residential address, and some information regarding the company, like who are the shareholders, what is the capital, how it is distributed, and like the normal thing to start a company. Usually for our company, we send an online form to collect all these documents from each of the shareholders. And this process also, it is usually 100% online, except for the case of the mainland. If you want to do it online, you'll have to pay an extra because you need to give a power of attorney for someone to create this company for you, for the e-signature. But this also takes roughly 7 to 10 working days. So within 7 to 10 working days, you will have the company, the establishment card, and you will have the entry permit. This is the first step. The second step, where the consultancy that you're working with will be in contact to arrange your arrival to the UAE. So the consultancy will be arranging your arrival. That means that you need to come here to the UAE for a period of 15 days. And this is where your physical presence is needed. So you will stay for 15 days on average. If you're not taking a VIP fast track, you need to do a medical test. You need to do a biometrics test. So they need to get your fingerprints, and you'll need to get a visa stamped. Now, the visa will not be stamped on your passport. It is a digital document that you will be getting, but it is like in the format of a visa that you usually see on a passport. And then you will receive your Emirates ID. Once you start this process, once you receive the entry permit from the consultancy, you will have 60 days to come to the UAE. And once you enter the territory of the UAE, you will have 60 days to finish this process. Now, the process usually takes 15 days on the normal process, but sometimes we see that some of our clients cannot stay the full period of 15 days, or sometimes even it is more profitable for them to take a VIP fast track option, because they will avoid staying, like, for example, an extra 10 days in the hotel and spending extra things on what they need to spend per day. So some of the clients do it for the time, some of the clients do it for the cost, but this VIP fast track will allow you to complete all the process within 5 business days and leave the UAE territory. Please bear in mind that if you start this process and you enter the UAE, you will not be able to leave the territory of the UAE until the residency visa at least is issued. You can leave the Emirates ID with us, so we can receive the Emirates ID on your behalf. We can email it to you or send it to you via I don't know, any service provider that provide this kind of service. Or you can leave it with us, and once you come back to the UAE, then you will be able to collect your Emirates ID from us. And then once this is the end of the second phase, which is the residency phase. So just to recapitulate real quick, first stage, which is company formation, 7 to 10 working days, and can be done online. Second stage, which is the stage of the residency, it takes roughly 15 days to complete this, and your physical presence is required. And once you start the process, you cannot exit the UAE until it is finished. And then you will be going to the third step. And the third step is the step of the compliance. So there are things that are required for every company in the UAE, and there are things that are required for some companies in the UAE. So every company in the UAE needs to get a corporate tax registration, which is basically a corporate tax number that you need to apply for and get. And if you fail to do so within 3 months, you will have a fine of 10,000 dirham. So please take this very seriously, because the fines are automatic, and you can sometimes apply for a waiver, but it's not granted every time. And then for the companies who know that they will be the moment you exceed $50,000 in turnover, you will have also the obligation to register for VAT. So you register for VAT also. It is mandatory for the companies who will exceed $50,000 in turnover. Cumulative, not per year or per month. It's cumulative turnover. The other things, there are some activities like, for example, investments, or for example, real estate, or if you're doing like financial services. All of these activities also require another thing, which is called anti-money laundering report. And there is another report which is called ultimate beneficiary owner, which means who are the persons behind this. So what we do in our company, we have a package that combines all of this, and we call it the essential package, that we try to support our clients with, because these are the registrations, and these reports are required by law and have like hefty fines attached to them. The other thing that is, I would say, a specificity to the UAE market is the bank account opening. While, for example, in Tunisia, opening a bank account is like very straightforward. Here in the UAE, people, it's not automatic for them to get a bank account. So the bankers, what they do, especially if you go to a physical bank, so if you go to a physical bank, the banker is expecting to selling you a products like insurance, or he will ask for a minimum balance in your bank account. He will ask for a lot of documents. And basically they do this because the banker get commission if they do this. If you don't comply with this, or you don't have an office, for example, they will not even entertain you and open you a bank account. So if you're just starting out as a startup, the best solution is to opt for a digital bank. So you can go for a bank, for example, like Wio, which is very straightforward. Like 95% or 98% of the people who apply for a Wio bank account will get the bank account. You can bank for your business, you can bank for your personal needs, and you'll have a debit card, credit card, a checkbook, everything is granted. Now, some of the, let's say, some of the people who might be interested in setting up their startup here because they are fundraising, because they're interested, might say, I am not sure that I want to be in the UAE and have a bank account in the UAE. Can I do an offshore bank account? That is possible. So you can start only the company here and have, for example, an offshore bank account like Pioneer, for example, or there are other physical bank accounts which will be more expensive, but at least you will not have the obligation to go through the residency visa and get the residency permit and visit the UAE once every 6 months to maintain your resident status and your bank account open. So it is a trade-off. Some people will be raising funds, so they will need, like, for example, if I am an investment fund, I would need like a proper bank and to be sure that my investment is safe. Some other startups will not need this. They just need to dip their toes and have a presence because, for example, the regulations of a country is so confining or something like that. Then it is possible to find like an option that will fit your needs. The other thing to keep in mind is there are roughly 49 or 50 free zones right now in the UAE, and there are some are very specialized and there are some general, and every emirate has its own free zones, and the prices will vary depending on the emirates, on the free zone, on the services, on these things also matter a lot in the terms of choices. There are, for example, if you're setting up an investment fund, you cannot do it unless you go for a DGM or DFC. This is just an example. Or, for example, you need to be in near the port, you need to be in Jabal Ali free zone. But if you're setting up a company or an app or something like that, then there are plenty of choices for you where you can go according to your budget. The thing
Saif,
is, yes,
can we wrap up, please? Because I know a lot of
it
content
is a
here,
lot of
and
information. I
it's
can stop
never,
here.
yes,
I
yeah,
can stop here. The only thing I will add, the last thing, the other difference in the UAE, that the business license is renewed every year and your residency visa will be renewed every 2 years. Now, I understand there are hundreds of questions. There will be hundreds of
yes.
personalized cases. And if they have a question, I'm very happy to answer.
Great. So yes, there are already a lot of questions on the Q&A section. So if you can just start checking them out, because we don't have time to take one now, or we already behind schedule. But if you can have a look, but we will also note all the questions that were asked today during the session, and we will follow up with an email with all the answers. Either they were answered now or not, but we will come up with all the. We will revert back with all the answers. So if you can now go ahead and check some of the questions, if you can answer now. Otherwise, we can follow up
Okay.
later.
I can just start. This is an interesting question. Which country has lower tax rates for business, Saudi Arabia or UAE? In fact, in the UAE, if your annual turnover is less than 3 million dirham, you will not be paying taxes. And which is not the case right now in Saudi Arabia. They give big waivers for big companies who move there, especially for the regional hubs. And the other thing is, even if your company, let's say, will do more than 3 million dirhams, then you're only going to pay 9% if your net profit exceeds $100,000. So for
Amazing.
the startups, it's a very, very encouraging environment because it's very tax efficient.
Okay, great. Thank you, Saif. Thank you so much for all this information. And also, if you feel free to go also and write answers to the questions on the chat if you're okay with that.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So now let's move to one of the most critical aspects of a startup, of any startup journey, actually, which is securing the funding. So Dubai's investment landscape is dynamic with a mix of venture capital, angel investors, government-backed funds, and these are fueling growth in various sectors. So to guide us through this landscape, I'm very pleased to introduce Paulina Kozin, who is the founder and CEO of Raise Zero. Paulina specialized in project financing with expertise in due diligence, strategic positioning, and project structuring. So over to you, Paulina, and thank you for being with us.
Hi, everyone. I've just started to share my screen. Can you see it? All good?
Yes, now we see it. Now we see it. Thanks.
All right. So thank you for introduction, Osama. My presentation probably a bit too comprehensive for startups since my expertise lies more on mid-stage or later stage financing. And here you can see my background of the companies I work with. So it spans across finance and sustainability, and my own company, which is Raise Zero, combining it all. So in Raise Zero, we are actually specializing in 3 main parallels: finance, sustainability, and marketing. In terms of finance, which is our main focus for today's session, we do market research, financial services, and investor communication. We'll dive in detail. Then in sustainability, advisory, policies, and reporting, and marketing, obviously wrapping up your presentation, whether your company all falls under the marketing. Our track record quite comprehensive as well across industries, financing rounds, and scope of work. So you can see majority of projects we handle actually based in UAE and Switzerland, taking the heritage of one of financing company I work with. And here we are starting beginning of first half of our session today is Dubai investment landscape. So I've predefined 4 most trending sectors at the moment. The first one is real estate. Investments in real estate, and not only traditional investment, which is buying actual property, but all the businesses serving real estate field around are driven basically by consumer demand, which is buying property due its price rise. The second one is technology. Again, technology is quite comprehensive sector. It's including AI, including deep tech, including green tech, and so on and so forth. As today is already was covered, there are quite a few initiatives in Dubai to provide funding. And here you can see some insights from news that Dubai is basically the city to be in if your startup is in technology sector. The next one is sustainability. However, in sustainability, like you can just Google it, you will see the biggest headlines are towards energy, green energy, but all the other sectors are also in demand, and it's more driven by governmental agenda, whereas technical and real estate startups are driven by private sectors as well. And the last one, food and beverage, and again, all the businesses which serve food and beverage sector, which includes local production, local agricultural projects, and packaging delivery. And also was touched today, that's very important when being in Dubai to know local demographics, since local population is only 11.5% and the rest are expats population. Why it's important to bear in mind? Simply because behind any investment there is individual, and we are as individual invest in something what we know. It's whether where we live, if we reside in UAE, or the country where we are coming from. So that could be your field for negotiation with your potential investor. So now we are diving into the second half of the session, which is basically my direct expertise, which is securing funding and growth capital. I've determined 4 main steps to do so. The first one, basically determine the appropriate financial instrument with which you will approach your investor. Then prepare investor materials such as pitch deck, teaser, data room, go to investor, and ongoing investor communication once deal is closed. So now we start quick overview of financial instruments. Here I'll go fast because you will have recording of the session and can review in details later. So knowing that often startup founders don't really familiar with financial structures, I created for you a capital structure which shows you in details the differentiations between debt and equity and key points for your consideration, which one you would prefer to choose for your startup. However, for startup funding, there certain instruments are more favorable. In fact, pre-seed investor is super hard to find. That's why pre-seed startups often opt for governmental grants or accelerator programs. As you grow at later stages, you can opt for equity. You can see here different equity options such as common stocks, crowdfunding platforms, convertible notes, preferred equity, and debt. Debt typically coming at the later stages. However, even early stage startup can opt for a bank loan. However, typically bank would need personal guarantees, your personal wealth guarantees to give you loan. Again, you can review it later after session, the key facts placed against each other and key consideration for you with which one to go. And quickly, since I specialize in sustainable finance, I just wanted to highlight one thing. Even if you're not a green tech, not green company, still align your company operations and your goals with UN SDGs. You never know what investor will look at your materials. It's always will be an add-on. And on top, you can see key differentiation between sustainability-linked issuance and use of proceeds issuance. So basically, key differentiation here that sustainability-linked issuance is linked to your KPIs, which you set and your company have to achieve year over year. And use of proceeds issuance means that financing will go only to predefined use of proceeds, which should match the international framework. So here we are done with financial part of funding, and we go into investment materials creation. So any pitch deck structure should answer 4 main questions: what you do, why you do it, how you do it, who is behind, and what is an upside for investor. For early stage, which is startups, you can find a typical deck structure out there in internet. There are plenty of software to create for you a deck. You don't need to reinvent a wheel. You can follow that one because it's quite easy to understand and create. However, at mid and late stage, presentations usually are way more complex, especially when it comes to M&A deals or growth financing and so on and so forth. So I typically follow the 6 pre-identified chapters, which is executive summary, company overview, project overview, financials, market outlook, and appendix. So the next one is basically how to create content. So our brain process visual information 15 times faster than text. So it makes sense to present, to make your presentation visually enhanced. You can see a typical example of news when it's a visual or write-up. So some tips for you for content improvements is number 1, don't use jargon. Your industry-specific terms which investor might not understand. However, if you use those, add a note by explaining what does it mean. Then be straightforward, reduce adjectives. I mean, taking into consideration AI-driven content lately, that's super hard to read. Just remove all the stop words which doesn't give additional meaning to your presentation. Be very straightforward to the point. Then use tangible facts. That's case studies, name of clients, any contracts volume in your pipeline or already signed contracts or partners. And all the facts should be 100% verifiable, because you do presentation just to pitch. Next step, investor will ask you for a proof for those. So the next one, that's content alignment. Just quickly to show you what does it mean. You have to set up certain margins and grid layout and follow it across your presentation. Typically used grid is 6 columns. Here is an example of layout of grid, and grid we use in our materials. It was 8 columns, but then your materials will look extremely neat and pleasant to read, and obviously create a positive impression about you and your company. Second one is apply visual hierarchy principles. Basically, you should use different fonts and colors as well as forms. Here is an example of how we utilize different colors, forms to present different information. Quantitative visuals. That's very important, again, to not write up, but show everything as charts. Any startup must have a market outlook. That's the part basically why you do it, because it's trending, because there is high demand, and you will be able to sell your technology or service or product. So just make it visually easy to read and understand. And qualitative visuals. Qualitative visuals, basically any infographics, maps. Again, you can see here on an example, we use visual hierarchy, we use different colors, we use icons, we use real facts, basically numbers of every step of life cycle of the company, as well as map on all in one slide. However, it's easy, look at, read, and understand. And last one is human element. That's basically who is behind. Team behind, when it comes to startup, is extremely important, because it's a startup. You don't have your operational record, you don't have historical financial. So team credibility comes like one of the key considerations for investors. So showcase key members' faces, add track record. You can just use LinkedIn profiles to link to your presentation, use testimonials of your customers or partners. If you struggle to get images, you still can use testimonials other way around, but make it visually nice, as on this example. So here we come to the local specifics. I call this chapter local specific Though this session is about Dubai, but I know there are many founders joining us abroad, and these tips can be applicable anywhere in the world. However, the entire presentation will be more aligned with Dubai. So the first one is search for government agendas and align. Here you can see the alignment with UAE consensus and UAE green economy. And one important thing I wanted to underline, UAE has its own design system, and to create this presentation and slide, we used color numbers and fonts taken out from UAE design system. So if you approach governmental authorities, it's highly recommended to follow their own guidelines. Second one, ensure local impact. So here you can see qualified and quantified local impact supported with loud speaking icons and numbers and photos. Third one, compliance with local regulations, both financial and non-financial, such as permits from relevant authorities, which is highly important to have on place. Otherwise, your project might have really significant delays. Again, compliance with local regulations might take a long time to get. Still, at least write up indication that you did your market research and you're going to apply to a certain amount of local regulation and how you're going to do it. And last one is to ensure long-term commitment. That's very important that you're not just coming to UAE to get funds. And I would hear this feedback from quite a few local funds that you must ensure not just be locally registered, but ensure local impact in the long-term run. And here is a perfect example of a local impact by 2030. So next one of the most important is financial model, because you need to show how you and your investor will become rich. So the first start point is basically key assumptions, what you assume in your model and what your key points. Here is more complex financial model. In startups, it should be easier, just 2-3 points put against your financial model and your assumptions and variations. Second one, basically financial forecast. Ideally, it's 5-10 years forecast. However, for startup, 2 years will do. Even 1 year, if it's like your early stage, you can do forecast for 1 year, but do then monthly breakdown, because in the presentation, it's hard to fit in monthly breakdown. However, standalone financial model in Excel must be done by monthly basis. Third one, sensitivity run. Your Excel file you provide to investor must be elastic for a stress test, because any CIO or CFO must be able to see the formulas and play with your model for a stress test. However, to predict his assumptions or her assumptions, you can add sensitivity run already in your presentation and showcase why that you done your study for base case, best case. You can add worst case scenario as well, but also add into the presentation key considerations you put into these cases scenario. And again, about being to have all the sources verifiable, always add link to the sources you used for data search. And last one, and probably one of the most important, is investor upside. Typically in startup world, it's ARR, annual recurring revenue, which is basically monthly recurring revenue multiplied by 12. In more advanced projects, it's internal rate of return, annualized internal rate of return. And here is an example of investor return simulation as per fixed terms of the bond. In equity, obviously, it's going to be different. It's going to be linked to your projections, valuations, if it's pre-IPO, again, pre-money valuation and post-money valuation. And what else you can add in financial part of your slides is term sheet, basically terms with which investor comes in, investor benefits, capital structure, use of proceeds, predefined risks, and risk mitigation. There are always risks at any startup, so it's better you write those down. And mitigate right away. So an example of term sheet and investor benefits with price tiers, you can see here. Example of sources and proceeds. In more complex project, there is several sources of funding, not just one equity investor, but it can be mixed blended finance, and risks and mitigation. So basically you should put every risk, pre-identified risk against mitigations in your company. And convincing facts for investors, that's super important. Founders' equity contribution. When investor knows you have a skin in the game, it gives additional confidence. Second one, diversified revenue streams. If you rely only in one source of income, it poses high risks. However, if your business model quite elastic and you can diversify your revenue streams, that's a big add-on. Then any offtake agreements or at least potential pipeline, again with verifiable numbers. And historical performance, which is not applicable to pre-seed and seed investments, but starting from Series A, you must always disclose your historical performance. And here example of equity injection put against the capex, and down here you can see legend with diversified revenue streams that are coming from sale of different items. Historical performance, a bit more complex model here, since it's combined cash flow with trading time. However, it's a good example to show that there are up and downs and how you mitigate those. And in general, return is actually high regardless down times. And now we are coming to investment materials. Whenever you're done with your investor presentation, which should be more comprehensive than those slides I've showed you, follow the structure we just reviewed at the content slide, you should create teaser. Again, coming back to the fact that our brain processes information 15 times faster. When it's visual, you should just create a 2-pager that in 30 seconds, investor will get a feeling about your project and decide whether to look at the presentation or not. And data room. Data rooms should be supported with all the original documents. Whatever you say in the presentation should be reflected in there along with KYC on the company and market outlook. Next one is go to investor strategy. So here I've identified 5 steps. It's to identify your target investor, search for investor, make an approach, deliver your pitch, and close the deal. So key consideration when you identify your target investor, that's investor type. I mean, you will not look for institutional investors if you're a startup, but whether you will look for VC funds, opportunistic investments such as angel investor, and governmental grants accelerator programs. Investment horizon, so even those investors, they have their own preferences to invest in short-term, long-term, medium-term, the products they look at, whether bonds or equity. Sector and geography preferences, even if you're coming to Dubai or you're based abroad, you still can see investor preferences by just looking at their website. You simply can see offices location on your target investor website and understand whether they invest in those regions or not. And regulatory considerations are super important. There are sometimes if you approach governmental authorities, sometimes they would like to have Sharia compliant financial instruments. Lately, it's less and less demandable, but still it's there. And optimized tax structure. That's basically about creating SPV, basically your company in jurisdiction where your investor is based, or to create a bank-to-bank transaction, which is more complex transaction and related to the bonds at later stages of startups. That's just indication, and my suggestion always to maintain flexibility across all options. You never know where you can actually get your funds. Search for investor. I mean, the simplest way is just to Google, right? You Google companies I could put here, but already other speakers did it. They put some names of VC funds, of the accelerated programs. You just Google it. The top search, 50 top search, approach all of them. Check financial players in DFC and ADGM registry. The one DFC is Dubai-based, ADGM is Abu Dhabi-based, and obviously specialized platforms for crowdfunding, accelerators program, and different data aggregators, like, for example, Preqin. And some offline strategies, when it's pre-seed and seed investment, it's very hard to pitch professional investors. So your safe circle would be your family and friends references. So speak up about your project and be confident about it. Then local and regional thematic events. In my
Okay, have we lost? I think we lost Paulina, or you're still here?
Yeah, I think something is wrong with her internet connection. It wasn't stable, so.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, and until Paulina is back, I think it's an opportunity to say again that we will be sending all the all the answers to the questions, and maybe we can move to the next session. And when Paulina is there, we'll see if there is any.
I'm back. I'm back.
Okay.
Three slides, guys. I know there is some connection issue. Well, then let me finish these 3 slides and we will move on.
Amazing. Amazing.
So
Let's do that.
I'll try to be really quick. So we are basically done here. Let's move to the next one. Is basically how you make an approach, adapt your pitch deck accordingly to your investor. If it's based in Dubai, to add some Dubai related slides. If it's based in Saudi Arabia, add what the impact it will give to Saudi Arabia, and so on and so forth. Try to figure out who is decision maker in the company if it's institutional investor, and study his and her personal background. It matters a lot. At the end of the day, the decision maker will take a decision about your investor or not. And don't disregard mass channels such as email blast campaigns, ads, and promotion in LinkedIn. There are quite a few bots even to do mass messaging in LinkedIn or via email. Just Google those again. So deliver your pitch again. First impression is the most important. You have 30 seconds to win trust. That's why it's important to make executive summary of your presentation or a standalone teaser. And some tips on how to close deal. Prepare a commitment letter. So have all the documents ready and handy on your phone or laptop, and carry a big bag in case someone is with cash out there. And investor communication is basically last point today. It's very important to keep sending regular updates, not only to your investors, but also to those who was in your pipeline but didn't invest for any reason, because it may secure future funding rounds for you. And I really know real case studies when one of my friends literally was sending just one line in LinkedIn to one investor that this year we closed XYZ revenue. And after 3 years, that person basically bought out the entire company. So if any questions, I'm happy to answer to those, but I believe we run out of time.
Yeah, we are quite stretched on time, but thanks for the presentation, Paulina. I like the approach or the lens you used here. I also like the localization tip and how you should be aware about your investor, their profile, the local implications, and be sure to reflect that on the work you are doing. If I have, there are a lot of interesting tips here on the whole process. But if you had to pick one important thing, one important tip for specifically for a Dubai-based investor, someone who invests in startups in Dubai, and you want to approach that investor, what is something that is important and specific you see, or maybe more important in Dubai than in other places?
Honestly, Dubai is quite international town. I wouldn't actually say there is some specific tip for Dubai, but check background of your investor. Those might invest only in pre-seed and seed, so don't waste your time to approach them with other startups and vice versa. But probably one tip I didn't add in my presentation, but it's one of the most important. Be confident and fake it until you make it. What else can you say?
Amazing, amazing. On this, I think we can wrap up the session. Paulina, thank you very much
Thank
for your
you.
time and all
Thank you.
those insights. And I guess that people who have questions can reach out to you. I mean, maybe LinkedIn is the best way to reach out to you, or any other channel. Thanks again for the time that you spent sharing with us all of these great insights. So now I think we can. One of the things that are very important also is to and that we want to explore next is the what are the opportunities and what are the market opportunities and trends that we can see in Dubai, and that we can look at. The Dubai market is a market that is constantly evolving, very dynamic, a lot of exciting opportunities in sectors like technology. So this is fintech, sustainability, and more. So to unpack all these opportunities, I'm thrilled to welcome Rasha Ramloush, co-founder of Digital Digest. So Rasha is a co-founder of Digital Digest with over 15 years of experience in the MENA region's digital economy. She has deep insights into market expansion and fostering local innovation. Rasha, yes, you're here. I see you. Welcome, and thanks for being here despite the small health problems that you have. I hope you recover soon. And thanks for being with us despite that. The floor is yours. And thanks again.
Thank you, Osama and the team, for having me. If I have a bit of a rough voice, it's allergies. I'm sorry, guys. Thank you guys for having me. I think it's really difficult to go after all these really great talks. They've covered so much of Dubai and everything that's going on around us. I'll give us a quick overview of why this is an important city very shortly, and then dive into the big trends that we're seeing in the market. Dubai, as all my colleagues have said so far, is really a global city. It's for the private sector specifically, it is the key city in the UAE, where the UAE itself is on the forefront of not just the MENA market, but also at a global level, really a competitive country when it comes to its global positioning around the world and its financial market and other areas. Quickly about myself, I'm Rasha, the co-founder of the Digital Digest. If you're interested to stay up to date with what's going on in the digital economy more broadly in the Middle East, you can join our channels, digitaldigest.me, pick how you want to stay updated. You'll get all the updates on startups, VC, policy changes in the market and what's going on. And you can kind of understand what's going on around you and stay updated. We don't just cover the UAE, we cover Saudi and other markets as well. So as I said, UAE is really highly developed. It's not just regionally, it's a global hub. It's a big hub, but it's literally a global hub at this stage, with clearing houses for the Chinese yuan, for the Russian ruble, other currencies. It's becoming a big hub for hedge funds and other global financial players as well. So its position in the world is very significant. And Dubai is the private sector hub of the UAE, in contrast to Abu Dhabi, which is more of a public sector-led city. Generally, the UAE is now crossed probably 10 million internet users. 25% is under the age of 25, relatively young population, FDI 18th top country in the world when it comes to FDI index, and it's the #1 destination for millionaires and urbanites across the world to travel and live in Dubai. It has attracted over 7,000 millionaires in the past 5 years. It's become a really big destination for people that are interested to live a very comfortable life and have a very high quality of life from a safety and from a digital perspective. It's extremely digitally savvy. The most important thing is, because of that, the country is super competitive. And the government and the leadership has understood this very early on and has, instead of kind of clashing with the developments in technology, they've adopted them and they've built the infrastructure that is needed to legalize and regulate things at the forefront before they become standardized. So UAE is one of the few countries that has already regulated the metaverse, virtual assets, really adopting AI at a government level, which is really obviously not something that the governments around the world are doing at the same level. And it's trying to be really on the forefront so that these changes, as they come in, they become a big part of government optimization and improving the cost of running the government so that they can build better infrastructure and invest that money in more long-term visions that they have. The key big sectors that the government is looking at are artificial intelligence, space, agriculture and sustainability, virtual assets, and slightly more Abu Dhabi, but semiconductors is big on the agenda of Abu Dhabi. Dubai is getting the benefit of that eventually, but as it is the federation, obviously the split of focus is a little bit different sometimes. In the past 4 years, the UAE has attracted $6 billion in investing for its startups. It makes up 40% of all the funding in the MENA region. So it is still, even with the slight drop that we've been seeing globally, the UAE and MENA in general dropped the least in comparison to its global counterparts. And in the past 2 years, it's been relatively stable at about approximately $1 billion of funding per year. And it's also attracted 35% of all the deal activity in all the regions. So UAE is really still the forefront, and about 80% of this activity is happening in Dubai, in contrast to Abu Dhabi. It's really hard to attribute directly because a lot of companies have branches in both cities. But private sector, as I said, is primarily a Dubai, the Dubai focus versus Abu Dhabi, which is more public sector. The hot sectors we're seeing in the UAE in the past 2 years, I want to say, are definitely artificial intelligence is the fastest growing one. We're seeing in just the past 3 years, $260 million has been invested in over 100 startups. So UAE also has the highest number of startups per capita in the region, but it also has the highest number of SMEs overall per capita in the region as well. But 100 startups in AI have already attracted $260 million. The most significant and biggest deal was Sentient Labs, which is a global company. The leadership resides in the UAE, and they've been investing. They've raised $85 million last year. And we're seeing a lot of very early stage AI startups attract investing in the past year. Some of this is AI-enabled businesses, but there's a lot of businesses that are building their own AI solutions from scratch, their own language model, small language models, or different applications that are utilizing AI. Obviously, we are seeing and this is for on the startup side. On the government side, we're seeing, JACE, which is Abu Dhabi led, and this is sorry. Can you see my screen? Did I stop sharing?
No, we see it. We see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we see JACE LLM and Falcon, which are developed by the Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence and the Technology Innovation Institute, that are being used and promoted by the UAE. These are Arabic first languages. They're not necessarily just Dubai. Obviously, this is at a federal level, but both Dubai and Abu Dhabi plan on cutting government cost of operations by 75% over the next 6 years. with the use of AI so that that money would be better utilized in other places like infrastructure or other areas of development of the government, which is definitely not something you see very often. This creates a lot of opportunities. The fact that the government is leading the creation and funding the creation of LLMs that are in Arabic, that are culturally appropriate for the region or for other places around the world, which may not be the case when you're using, international AI LLMs or different models. It's really helping kind of build an ecosystem and promote the use of these technologies locally. Also, the thing to take into consideration is, since the beginning of AI, the UAE's educational sector was instructed not to block the use of AI in education, but to actually think of creative ways to adapt that into the educational system. Because the reality is, this is a fact of life. It's not going anywhere. So instead of clashing with it, the educational sector has been actually mandated to think of creative ways in how to adapt this into the curriculum, into education. If students are going to use it to write essays, how can you encourage their development in other areas? And that's the reality today, in creating a workforce that is ready for the future. So with artificial intelligence, obviously this is an infrastructure layer. It's across all the sectors. Everything we're seeing today is AI powered, and the adoption is quite high. The one thing to say about AI as well is the UAE is very aware of the size of its market. As my colleagues said, it's not a massive market. We're talking about a population of about 10 million people with the recent growths in population. So the government understands that it is a launching ground to other countries. And they've already started not just developing these LLMs in Arabic, but also in a new language model that the UAE is working on. It's called Nanda, and it's in Hindi, and it is targeting the Indian subcontinent, which is a population of 1.4 billion people and growing. And so you have kind of a nurturing environment for you to not just build an AI company, but an AI company that can scale beyond an Arabic users, which are a significant part of the global population, but also Hindi speakers, which are an even bigger part of the population on this planet. The other big trend is fintech. Fintech continues to be, for probably 7-8 years now, the biggest growing sector and the most attractive for funding, for investors, and so forth. The two sub-trends we're seeing are buy now, pay later variations. A big one is property rental. Real estate continues to be the biggest vital sector in the UAE, and increasingly in Saudi and other places around the GCC as well, especially with the global economic financial situation. A lot of investment goes into financial sector. It's into the real estate sector. Buy now, pay later for school fees, for property rentals, for all different kinds of aspects are now attracting a lot of funding, and a lot of startups have gotten funding in that space, as well as B2B focused fintech. So everything from SME lending, SME card issuing, finance management, internally, all sorts of software to help you manage the finances of your business and acquire financial facilities. The banking sector and the traditional financial sector in the UAE is still a bit of a laggard, which is a huge contrast to how adaptive the government has been. And so we see a lot of startups tapping into that space. And because the UAE has the highest ratio of SMEs per capita in the region, the opportunity to grow is massive. There's a lot of startups that are serving the space, but there's still a lot more opportunity to grow and to adapt to the different needs of different verticals and different types of SMEs, different behaviors and different needs that they have from the financial side. These are, if we look at how much funding they received in 2024 alone, 50% of the funding to startups in Dubai this is not 50% actually. This is about 40% of the funding in 2024 went to fintech startups. So it's still a really significant part. And I think it's going to continue to be for the next 5 years as the market matures and we have more adoption. Blockchain and virtual assets. The UAE really embraced virtual assets and the blockchain very early on. Dubai has a strategy called the blockchain as the government as a service blockchain. And it's all of the Dubai government mobile app and digital services are connected to a blockchain-powered infrastructure that allows for very seamless and connected usage and access to paying bills, government records, personal records, and also all sorts of things related to Dubai government. So at a government level, that is being adopted. It's very significant. They take it very seriously, and they see the power of blockchain as a verification tool and as an authentication tool, but also as an infrastructure layer. I'm sorry, I just noticed there's a mistake on the slide. Obviously, Jason Falcon are not relevant to this one. But overall, in the past 6 years, $850 million has been invested in blockchain, virtual asset, and Web3 related startups in the region, in the UAE alone. And VARA has been extremely proactive in Dubai when it comes to regulating this sector. Companies have been fined, companies have been held accountable. Providing services in the city without the right licensing has been, people have been held accountable for this, and they've been very proactive in ensuring that people are able to access these things. They're able to pay with virtual assets, but they're also able to provide blockchain services, the Polygon chain, and there are a few other layer one blockchains that are very active in the UAE. They're investing in different startups, and Cypher Capital, for example, is a very active local investor in virtual assets and in the UAE. And this is a big trend that we're seeing, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere anytime soon, as virtual assets become increasingly regulated around the world and accepted by more and more countries around the world. This trend will continue, and the UAE has done a very smart thing of regulating this very early on to be able to manage this. What we're seeing also because of this regulation is more and more international hedge funds and wealth managers registering in Dubai to be able to provide custody services for Bitcoin holding and other sorts of enterprise grade services when it comes to virtual assets. And that's a big significant portion of stable access to virtual assets and services that is not your typical day trading that we see in other markets. So institutional grade services are also picking up a lot, and that walks into the trend of all the millionaires that are moving into the UAE and a lot of people that are holding on to a variety of different assets, including virtual ones, for their wealth management. Another big trend is agri-tech and sustainability. So at the beginning of the pandemic, the UAE came to terms with the food security situation in the UAE, but it's something that they were aware of before. 90% of food consumed in the UAE used to be imported. That number has dropped to 80% in the past 5 years with all the efforts that the country is doing when it comes to vertical farming and to promoting localized farming and aquaponics. And recently there was also a farm that does aeroponics that was licensed in the UAE to provide farming in air vessels, indoor farming, just to help mitigate all of the risks of if you're importing most of its food from outside to the country. This is a mission that the country wants to achieve at least 50% local food production. The UAE's climate, it's not a very big country, and it's mostly a very arid climate. So they don't have a lot of options, and they're investing heavily in how can they achieve food production locally in a sustainable manner. The Mars mission by the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center, its primary research and the reason this whole space sector was invested in was to actually invest in research and yield, improving the yield in agriculture in Mars, which can be reflected in the UAE, and since the conditions are relatively the same, given how the lack of agricultural land in the UAE. So there is a very long-term vision on this. There is an investment in the state in this sector. When it comes to startups, the investment is not that high. It is still $286 million over the past 5 years. But this is startups only. So if we look at how much is being invested in major companies and international companies, the number will grow up to a few $1 billion that has been invested in the sector as a whole. But that is, a lot of it is going into strategic and big productions. All of this goes into the same bucket of, climate change is coming. The UAE needs to improve its food security, improve its sustainability. And we do live in a part of the world where it is one of the highest impacted by the climate change that is happening, where we're getting much more extreme weather, and that makes obviously growing crops extremely difficult. So this is a very important trend that we're seeing, and it's going to continue to go on for at least the next 10 years as the UAE tries to adapt to climate change and build a more resilient economy. The last one, which is quite interesting, is autonomous transport. So Dubai has launched and approved the first vertiport in the country that will be providing basically landing stations for autonomous air taxis in the city by 2026, by Q1 2026. They've already started building them. They've already test drive them. And they've already been licensed. I believe the first one will be launched by Joby Aviation, which is an American company. And the vertiport network should be ready over the next 5 years, gradually launching new vertiports to accommodate more and more transportation. The aim is to provide over, I want to say 40,000 rides per year off the top of my head in the first year of its operations. And that will help decrease a lot of the congestion on the road, as well as provide, kind of alternative transportation for people across the city. Autonomous driving, the UAE obviously has big and EV powered driving is a big thing for the country as part of its sustainability goals. Abu Dhabi, I know, is not Dubai, but obviously these help kind of build that ecosystem that eventually, for any startup that is interested in this space, this is that ecosystem that you want to be a part of, and it becomes more and more attractive. It has launched a smart and autonomous vehicles industry cluster in Abu Dhabi just in 2024, where a lot of the international players from China all the way to the USA are part of this cluster to grow this ecosystem. And here we're not just talking about selling vehicles in the country, but we're talking about R&D. We're talking about small manufacturing facilities to help compile whether it's helicopters or cars or other resources for this sector. And these are kind of the main trends. So just a quick recap: artificial intelligence, fintech, blockchain and virtual assets, agriculture and sustainability, and autonomous transport.
Amazing. Thank you so much. This gives really a very clear idea about the vision and how it's moving in the UAE and in Dubai specifically. All of this may seem in other places like science fiction projects. Some of them. They are already being done here. They are very real and with very close timelines, like you were talking about the air taxis. It's happening now. So it's a very exciting city to be in, and it's definitely worth being aware of and taken into consideration when moving to Dubai and to the UAE. Thank you so much, Rasha, for being with us again, for waiting until the almost the end of the webinar and with the allergies, etc. So thanks again. Thank you so much. We appreciate your presence with us today. So thank you very much. So coming to the last parts of our webinar today, and for our session, we are very, very grateful for for our panelists for their patience and to be with us from the beginning of this webinar and being ready for this panel. We are bringing together two entrepreneurs today to discuss their experiences, challenges, and even share some tips for thriving in Dubai's startup ecosystem. So our panelists for today are Akram Al-Yusi, who is founder and CEO at Instaval with over 20 years of experience in corporate finance, venture building, and digital transformation. And we do not have Man with us today, but we are very happy to have Ahmed from Crisp. He's the COO of Crisp. He's also the general manager at Alaska GCC. So Ahmed has led the launch of multiple vertical farms in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, delivering the fresh, clean produce and enabling true farm-to-plate experience. And at Crisp Farms, he focuses on scaling indoor farming solutions to meet the rising demand for sustainable, high-quality produce, redefining the future of agriculture in the region. Amazing. We are very, very happy to have you with us tonight. And to start, I will ask maybe each of the panelists to maybe in a minute introduce themselves and maybe share a little about their startup too, so that we know also what you are doing.
Akram, go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you, Osama.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thank you again, Osama, and merci, Amal. Thank you, Amal, for the invitation. Yeah, look, what you already introduced about me is it's more than enough, and what have been said with the panelists is well, in a nutshell. Look, I have a bit over 25 years of experience in basically finance and investment. That's my background, and I've been in entrepreneurship ever since. So for about 15 years now. So I started my first company in 2010, and then moved on to the tech scene about 7-8 years ago. So that's me, and I'll tell you a bit when I landed in Dubai, and then how the encounter was. Maybe after our next panelist. Go ahead.
Yeah. Ahmed can introduce Crisp and introduce himself.
Yeah, thank you, Akram.
Yeah, go ahead,
Thank you,
Ahmed.
Osama. Yeah, I mean, I've landed in Dubai in 2008. It's now what 16 years, and worked different jobs in manufacturing and oil and gas, even and food. And then the last 3 years, I've moved to agriculture, agri-tech, and kind of following the hype around that. But yeah, there's been some challenges and some success stories. Alaska is an equipment manufacturer, so we build indoor farms and all the tech that basically operates the farms, LEDs and all of that. And then Crisp Farms is the operator. So we recently went into collaboration, and we are installing all these farms in hotels. And then maybe now throughout the discussion, I'll tell you a little bit about how we went to get to this point. But yeah, this is a bit
Amazing.
of
Yeah, we would love to hear about that. So let's go back to Akram and continuing on what you were saying. So tell us more about this journey,
Yeah.
how you came to Dubai, why,
Look,
and yeah.
So it's very funny and unique because I first crossed the ports of Dubai like 3 times. So the first time was technically in 2000, so that's like 25 years, but that was not like in a different sort of life. But I came to Dubai technically, I mean, as an entrepreneur, as an expansion strategy, because for my company back then, which was an M&A firm in 2014. And then I encountered the reality here, and the reality was that one of the partners just pulled out of the deal, and then I had to figure it all myself, and it was quite athletic, I would say, to navigate here, and because I was relying basically on an anchor to come to the market, but then that anchor just disappeared out of. And these are also advices, you know, like to founders. I mean, make your due diligence and etc. So maybe we'll come to that later. But
yes,
just
yes.
to continue on my journey. So I quickly realized that, you know, the brick and mortar model is not going to, it will be transformed at some point. And then I started to, you know, to dig into how to digitalize this sort of, you know, investment banking practice. And then, you know, I had to learn it all myself while, you know, doing my bread and butter with it on the consulting side. So I started, you know, just learning and you know, maybe doing with some freelance on how to build the products. Some experiences were good, some were less good. I had also to, you know, look for the engineer in Dubai. Where is he? You know, they disappeared. So it was really, you know, at very quite unique. The other positive part is that I got accelerated by Startup Bootcamp for the first fintech cohort. And I think Mohammed Sabuna was here, was part of the management maybe a bit later. But yeah, this is where I met him actually.
Amazing.
And if he's around, I say hi. So yeah, that was a very good also soft sort of landing to you know, to kickstart, you know, an idea and, you know, get all the resources. As a matter of fact, you know, they helped a lot, you know, and then fast things forward, you know, I've hired the team, raised funding. We were about 30. So again, I mean, we had an amazing traction, amazing numbers. Then we figure out that it's not the right model. So we sort of had to, you know, scale down the whole operation and pivot to a different model. So yeah, I mean, that's sort of my story in like half in corporate and you know, gray suit. The other half is in entrepreneurship, both traditional and tech startup. So
you'll tell us.
Here I am
You'll
in
tell us.
Dubai, so yeah.
Yeah, you'll tell us later maybe what was one of the biggest challenges and how you overcame it.
Sure.
It doesn't look. It looked like any other entrepreneurial founder story. It's bumpy. But what was bumpy in Dubai and how did you overcome it? But let's go to Ahmed first,
Sure,
and let's hear also about Ahmed's story about Dubai and what brought him here. What's his experience with Dubai as a destination for his startup and for his work?
Yeah, let me tell you about both startups actually. Starting from Alesca. Alesca is first cohort of Dubai Future Accelerator, 2016. This is where it started in UAE. It was before I met with the team. It was pre-COVID, and there was a lot of excitement about food security and, you know, getting, you know, all this technology here. And Crisp, I think 5 years ago, it was just before COVID, and again, you know, it was a bit tough times as a startup, but also benefited from the fact that we needed to localize food production. I think, you know, maybe now talking a little bit about you know, the journey, but also about some of the learnings. I think a lot of time can be you know, spent not very productive if you're not focused on your core business and what you want to do with your core customers. I can say as Alesca, we spent a lot of time trying to do different things. And then I think that slowed us down in the beginning. And this is what led to the, you know, the partnership with Crisp, because Crisp was a farming operator looking for a tech provider, so that you know, symbiotic relationship just was very natural. So I think this is maybe one of the biggest learnings. If you're trying to sell a product or a service, look for partnerships early on, and then really focus on what will bring money, because you can get lost into, you know, especially if you're part of, you know, the startup scene, and this foundation and that foundation, it can be really distracting. And the years go by and you haven't made $1, and investors will come, knocking on your door.
Yeah, amazing. And these are also very interesting pieces of advice. So that makes the link also back to Akram about what advice would you give to founders who want to start here in Dubai, and maybe also back to what you said about the challenge. Maybe you can link it to the challenge too.
Look, it's a very good question. So, and I sort of dovetailed it with what has Ahmed just said, and maybe what has been said, and maybe just put a little segregation on maybe the purpose of this whole event is you have in your audience people who want to set up shop in Dubai, like, and this their V0, and you have people who are already up and running, and this is an expansion strategy for them. And I think,
yeah,
from all of what has been said, the focus was first on A rather than B, and maybe the second, there is a group of people maybe who are up and running. I want to come as an international market expansion, but in either case, I mean, first, I mean, if you are just going to start up here in Dubai, I think focus on the top line. I mean,
okay,
like Ahmed said, focus on build the product, focus on customers, speak to your customers, come and do your due diligence, get into networks, but don't get lost at the same time. I mean, it's because if you are here for the long run, I mean, it's like an open sky airport. It's good. It's basically have a volume of consumers just around you, and the best advice is focus on the customers. Try to lock up or to lock up and then lock in a customer, whatever that customer is, and then iterate, learn, fail fast. Don't burn, because it's noisy, it's hot, there's a lot of traffic. It's good, but I live in downtown. I can tell you it's not so it's costly. I mean, here your runway, so if you have family, it's becoming so I think. And the other thing I just want to bring to the background, and Ahmed has seen it and can also testify, and I guess all the people have been here for us. It's a dual cadenced city. It's leapfrogged, and at the same time you have the other infrastructure, like the traditional, which is catching up arbitrarily, like opportunistically, and that this leaves like gaps and challenges at the same time. So don't have this in mind. Well, for me, the direct question, what was your challenge? I wouldn't tell you banking because it was a challenge, but I banked with Citi, which was like the worst bank to bank with.
Oh, really?
They kicked us out after 2 years and said, "Hey guys,
At what stage you banked with Citi? At what stage? Were you
like at the pre-seed stage, actually?
So maybe
They
too early for Citi.
Yeah, too early, but honestly, they had an offer. I mean, they had an offer, and they no longer had it. So
maybe it didn't work.
I can't blame them.
That's a sign. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, look, the challenge here is to, because it's noisy, because there's a lot of opportunities, is to get focused, to stay focused, and to say no, secure capital, and
amazing.
Have the humility and ability to say no, because you can get lost.
This is a great advice. A great advice. Yes.
It comprehends a lot of things here. I mean, stand up and say no, because saying no is very difficult.
Yeah, and keep focus. Absolutely. I have millions of questions for you guys. This is my entrepreneur part. This is my founder part. I have a million of questions. But we are limited by time, so I will just give you one more question, and we wrap up this conversation. And thanks again for your patience and for being with us until now. So we gave advices, we talked about the journey, etc. But through all of this, what makes, and going back to the subject of our webinar today, what do you think is something that is really unique compared to other ecosystems in Dubai? What would be the unique aspect that would get the balance or have an impact on the decision making for a founder of a startup founder to come or not to Dubai, and what is this uniqueness about the ecosystem here?
Yeah, maybe let me take that first.
Okay.
I think Dubai is changing to become a city where innovation happens. They're not just and UAE in general, but mostly Dubai. I think they used to copy a lot. You see a startup somewhere, and then there's a copy in Dubai. But I think, and even you see that with the food, with the restaurants. You just see, a restaurant open in London, and then they open in Dubai. But there's a lot of innovation that's happening, I think, in Dubai, and Dubai is becoming a trendsetter. I mean, Crisp was founded in Dubai and in UAE, and now we're going out to not just GCC, but the island nations, to Mauritius. Just quickly on Crisp, so the concept is set up a farm in the hotel, and that becomes basically the farm inside the hotel, and deliver every day produce from the farm to the kitchen. So everyone loves the idea, and we put the investment. They don't have to invest. We just secure a 3-year contract. But this idea came out of Dubai, and now it's across all Marriott, Hilton, Accor, Jumeirah hotels. We have agreements, and we're coming out. Now we have hotels out of Europe that are contacting us to come and set up. So the point is, Dubai is becoming a place for innovation. And I think, that idea that Dubai is just copying and they want to be the first, it's changing to become also a place for innovation.
Great. And people, as you mentioned, like when you do or you do your innovation, or when you achieve something in Dubai, then you attract attention also, and you get visibility
Absolutely.
into other
You can
markets.
scale easier. If you
Easier.
succeed in
Absolutely.
Dubai, you'll succeed outside.
Absolutely. Great. Yeah, absolutely. And so Akram, what's your take on this? What makes Dubai a unique ecosystem?
Yeah, on top of what Ahmed said, which is very true, I think here's the opportunity of the exposure, and you can rub shoulders with people that and you can build trust. Like this is, I think, the number one differentiator. I mean, of course, there are a lot of, but if you want to take it to the human social level, there are obviously a lot of unique points. I mean, the geostrategical position, of course, you are, few hours flight away from millions of consumers. I mean, these are the sort of fundamentals. But if you compare it to other places, I mean, worldwide, I think it's this, because here actually, unlike other places, maybe it's you build relationship, like real relationships. You need to build like real with the capital R. You need to build them, otherwise nothing is happening, because again, it's very noisy, and people, I mean, if you get like a call, warm introductions are gold here, because it's that's super interesting. And then that's what makes Dubai unique, is to sort of get that opportunity or that platform to have this exposure. But again, I mean, listen, but be skeptical against.
Okay.
That's the other piece as well.
So yeah, so I also take from it what you said is how important it is to have the right introductions here, to have the right entry points, and also the fact that it's very, very dynamic and very competitive also makes it at the same time harder to access certain things or access certain networks, but it makes it unique in the sense that you have, once you have access to very quality networks, and a lot of things can be done very quickly once you have the right starting point. This is under.
I want to just sum it up very quickly here. You have the outcome expectancy level is quite high here,
Yeah.
versus other geographies where the outcome expectancy is not there.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Any final words, guys, before we wrap this up? Or no?
Yeah, I mean, maybe, you know, long experience. We sound a little, you know, discouraging, but I think it's worth the ride. You know, we learn a lot, and yeah, just be careful. You know, be focused, and just yeah, good luck to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. But listening to you, I don't think I get the discouraged. I think I get actually a sense of a real journey of real founders who made it through ups and downs, and who give us insights and learnings about their journey, which is very, very valuable, I guess, for all our guests today. And I think that wraps up our startup destination Dubai for today. And thank you guys again for being with us, for being patient, and for all your insights today in today's session. So a huge thank you all, speakers, panelists, for sharing your knowledge, and to all of us, to all of you who joined us today. Just of course, we hope that you found it very insightful and inspiring. Just a reminder, if you missed any part of the event, we will be sharing the recording very soon. And don't forget, there are 2 other episodes coming up in the UAE chapter of the Startup Destination. So we will have the Abu Dhabi episode coming up on March 12th, and we will have the Sharjah episode on April 9th. So stay tuned for more of that. So until then, best of luck, everyone, in your startup journey. We hope to see you again soon. You will be receiving, as I said, the recording, and you will be also receiving the answers to the questions that were asked today and were not answered by the speakers. So again, thank you, everyone. We're 15 minutes late, but thank you all for staying this long, and I wish you a great evening, everyone. Bye-bye.